as you were climbing up the ladder, as they say, or going into more of those, the better jobs and discovering your own passions, did you ever face any barriers as a woman, as a person of color in Canada, ever?
Of course, I wish I could say otherwise. The barriers are there. And how do you overcome them? So, just recently, last week, I was having a conversation with my mom. Like I said, she's almost 98 years old. And I asked her, tell me something about my childhood that I don't know. And she says, what do you remember? I said, I remember sitting with my dad in bed, and he would read to me and he would teach me stuff, right? And he entered me into a scholarship competition, which was all India's scholarship. And he prepared me to write that exam. And then, it wasn't the internet. So the results would be published in the newspaper. So every day, this is what my mom said. Your dad would get up, go outside the house, pick up the newspaper. He would glance and he says, no results. Then one day he came dancing into the house. And well, you guessed it. So my name was in the newspaper that I had won the scholarship. And the scholarship was all expense paid education till I graduated high school at one of the top schools of India. But what I didn't know, I knew that I'd won that scholarship because I went to those schools. Mm-hmm. What I didn't know was that there were 11 people who won that scholarship that year. I was the only girl. And I looked at a picture that I had posted in 2007 of me on an advisory board. There were 10 or 11 white men and me. And I'm saying, not much has changed, right? But yeah. I shouldn't say it with a bad spirit, because a lot has changed, but a lot more needs to be done. It's for women and for anybody else. If you want to be heard, you have to speak. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to invite you to speak, mm-hmm. right? If you're sitting at a round table, you want to be heard, you have something to say it. Don't wait for an invitation. It's like, right. What say, if there's no seat at the table, you create your own table.
Yes.
Right? So we talk about allies and we talk about mentors. Mm-hmm. They can only do so much. Mm-hmm. The main work you have to do to get you to where you want to be, right?
That's so true. And did you always have that in you to stand up for yourself, to say what you had in mind, or is that something you learned?
No, I didn't always have that. When I was taking my programming course, I needed extra help because these were very new concepts. And I had all male teachers and nobody wanted to help me in return for nothing. I've had to put door blocks on my bedroom door to keep people off so that I could study. Being a female in a male-dominated profession has never been easy, but if you can make it and stand, if people can look beyond your gender and look at the material you produce, and that's where we need to move. There's two sides to every situation. So we are the women, and we're training women to be more assertive, more vocal, speaking their mind. That's only one part of it. We're training women to do that. The other part is the men need to learn to listen. Mm-hmm. So nobody talks about the other part, or some people do, but not enough. You can give a woman a voice, but somebody needs to hear that. So right. How do you train people who are used to being the dominant figures and the powerhouses? How do you train them to listen to the other side, right? So this diversity training is not one way. Mm-hmm. It's not just raising women to a higher standard or raising immigrants to a higher level of education. The people who are hiring still have to see that these people exist. So how do you train these people who are hiring to create job descriptions that are not leaning towards one gender or the other, or right? So that's where our unconscious biases still come in.
Yeah, it's so true though. It's like, that's the whole thing with women empowerment. It's like you can do as much to empower the women, but then we have to collectively work with our men to also support that cause. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is also there's a lot of women's organizations, right? And all the members are women. We are preaching to the reformed.
Yes.
These organizations should welcome
Mm-hmm.
So how, if I'm a woman in tech, how is that different from a man in tech? The only difference is that when people are looking for talent, they're looking at men. They're not even looking for women, right? So that's where things have to change.
Do you have an example of a story of a barrier that you faced in your career as a woman in tech, or as you were moving up in your career?
So I would say that I'm not sure if I would have made it to the top if I wasn't working with Cargojet. So at Cargojet, because we were an entrepreneurial company, I had the freedom to do what I needed to do. I was pretty autonomous from various standpoints because nobody else understood technology. So if I said that this is what we need, I got it. I was allowed the freedom to explore new technologies and to gradually start introducing them. So my challenges were not, I think my challenges stopped after I came into the Cargojet entrepreneurial environment. Now, I also find that a lot of women, and particularly women of color, are more entrepreneurial because they feel they may not be able to break the ceiling in a corporate world, so they create their own world, their own corporation. Mm-hmm. So you'll see a lot more entrepreneurship in these communities, because if you're not going to invite me to the table, then I'm going to create my own table, and maybe I will invite you too.
Yes.
So challenges are always there. This is like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was invited to a customer appreciation dinner at a beautiful restaurant downtown. And I think I was the only female. And I came into the dinner and I was a bit late. And I was wearing a black dress, and 3 of the men turned around and they handed me their empty glasses thinking I was the waitress. And I'm not talking about 20 years ago or 30 years ago. I'm talking 5 years ago. Things still happen. So my biggest challenge, if any, has been myself, right? If I think I'm held back, it's because my mind has those limitations. And you need a platform. My platform is Cargojet, because it's given me the ability to do things, to present myself in a way that I can now be available to sit on boards. When people see an announcement that I joined the Ontario Board of Health, I started this journey 15 years ago, right? So it doesn't come easy. You got to persevere, and you have to believe in yourself. And there were times I gave up and I said, you know what? I'm never going to get a private, a public board, because I don't belong to the old boys network. I'm a CIO, and I'm not welcome on a board because they see me as an expense, like IT is an expense. They see it as not having done P&L, but I add to the P&L. And now I also subtract from the P&L because I provide efficiencies and save dollars. There was a while I almost gave up on joining boards. But then, comes cybersecurity and IT risk management. And I am a woman of color who has skill set that is currently needed on every board. Am I going to be successful? Well, time will tell. But I also don't want wait another 10 years and then I'd say, I'm done. Things take time, but sometimes people give up in the middle, and I've certainly, done that. And just as I'm about to give up, another glimmer of hope comes in. I can do this, right?
What is the biggest challenge you would say you are facing today as a leader?
Find my replacement.
Find your replacement.
I was actually talking to a friend who wants to move up, to her next role. And she has a boss. So the boss has 5 direct reports. The boss is a white male. And out of the 5 direct reports, there's 4 white men and 1 BIPOC woman. And every time he needs to delegate, he delegates to the 4 white men, people that are exactly like him. And by the way, there's no prejudice here with the 4 white men. We're just talking in context of being sane, and how that's the story we need to change. So what's her challenge? I said to her, okay, so there's two things. You want to move up to the next level. Dealing with your boss is one thing, but what you need to do is when you move up, who's going to take your job? So progress is not just up. You have to bring people up with you. So train your team to be able to do what you do. And then you say, my team is ready. Let me take it to the next level. So that's the challenge most people face. And I always encourage succession planning. So my challenge right now is to, over the next couple of years, is to find the right successor for my role, because it's changing. My role's changing. Cargojet's changing. There's growth opportunities. There's different opportunities. We became a $3 billion company very quickly. Mm-hmm. The first billion was probably the hardest. And then, and we have great opportunities coming up for growth. We are adding to our aircraft. We are adding to our customers. We are going international. And I wish I could work forever. I can't. And it's a very sad time, because I really wish for a change that I was younger, just because I would have the bandwidth to do more of what I would like to do. But I want to give that chance to somebody else to take over. So that's my big responsibility now.
And what is your vision for the future, Anju? Like, what are some goals you're working on?
So, I don't want to retire, because I want to stay active. So the way I can give back and still keep my mind active and share my knowledge, I would like to do some board work. I am also joining the board of Ontario Power Generation, and I just want to say what a diverse board it is, and not just in terms of the makeup of the board, but the skill set of the board, and the fact that they recognized the need for technology risk management. So that's the board work. So I'm looking forward to doing some board work. I am also looking forward to doing some more philanthropy through my foundation. There's a need everywhere. I look at the homelessness in Toronto. People tell me to do like charity work or philanthropy in India. And I said, this is my community. First, I want to work at home, right? Mm-hmm. So there's opportunities to do some more, help some organizations, even in the arts world, right? And support young entrepreneurs and be active till the day I check out.